What's up YouTube? Today we're taking a quick look at a game called Into the Breach. I'll be giving you guys a look at some of the gameplay along with my thoughts on it. I'll be rating the game in a few different categories and ultimately giving you my recommendation of whether or not I think this game is worth your time. The categories I'll be rating this game on are art style, writing, music, user interface and gameplay, and replayability. So first off, let's take a look at the art style. Into the Breach employs a simple yet satisfying pixel-based art style, providing just enough detail to make everything on screen recognizable to the player. The color palette and art style of Into the Breach really give the game a lot of distinct personality, and coupled with its isometric presentation, you'd find it hard to mistake it for another title. The art style works well with the overall gameplay and sound design, so with that in mind, in this category I would personally give Into the Breach 8 points out of 10. Now let's talk about writing. Being frank, there's really not much here in this regard. The premise of the game is that the massive insect-like aliens known as the Vek have infested the Earth and are attempting to destroy humanity. As a mech pilot who has the ability to travel back in time in the event of a total failure, it's your duty to go from island to island defending the cities of Earth from the Vek threat, and eventually blow up their hive. The game doesn't have much, if any, character establishment nor development, but that really isn't the game's goal. The story exists purely for context, and while it's interesting to see the reactions of the pilots and citizens when an impressive feat is accomplished or a disaster has occurred, this is really the only way, aside from island introductions, that story is ever given to the player. In the words of Doom developer John Carmack, "Story in a game is like story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important." And for this game, that is absolutely true. The writing isn't terribly important in the context of the experience as a whole, and rightfully takes a backseat to the most important aspect of Into the Breach, its gameplay. While not particularly impressive, what story and writing this game gives us isn't bad, and does serve its purpose, so in that regard I give it a 4 out of 10. Our next category is music, which really immerses the player in a tense yet hopeful atmosphere. From the game's opening track, a desperate tone is set that really shows the gravity of the crisis faced by the population of Earth. The music makes the player feel an urgency to make the right tactical decisions in a tense and somewhat stressful situation, while emphasizing the feeling of triumph when a tactical maneuver leads to a satisfying kill. The game's score is full of depth, complexity, and a unique variety of instrumentation, with songs that nearly seamlessly loop and transition to other tracks, which is pretty impressive. The music here is definitely worth hearing, even apart from the game itself. The sound design also fits the game's actions very well and serves to greatly enhance the gameplay. In all, the music of Into the Breach gives it a unique presence and is in general an audibly memorable experience. It really takes this game to the next level, and for that reason I give the music of Into the Breach a 9 out of 10. The most important aspect of Into the Breach by far is its gameplay, and in this regard it does not disappoint. On the surface, Into the Breach is a very straightforward and intuitive game that anyone could pick up and play. However, the gameplay has a lot of hidden depth and a broad range of possibilities. The game is played on an 8x8 grid comprised of a variety of tiles, each with their own properties. Each level begins with a number of enemies spawning, and the player strategically placing their 3 mechs to defend cities and other objectives. Each city represents a bar in the power grid which acts as your overall health across levels. Each mech has its own unique abilities and playstyles, and it's up to the player to learn how best to use their mechs in conjunction to accomplish their goals. All enemy attacks are telegraphed, and the order in which the enemies attack can be seen by clicking on the attack order button. The player will always be aware of what the enemy is going to do next, and that makes the game's difficulty feel fair, since any mistakes that are made are entirely the player's fault. You are able to undo your moves as much as you want before you attack, and once per level you have the option to reset your turn, giving you a small bit of wiggle room if you do make a mistake. The creative possibilities in the way you're able to approach problems in this game really make it shine. The player will always find new and interesting ways to combine their mech's abilities to pull off some awesome maneuvers. For instance, some mechs have the ability to push other units, which can be used to push the Vek away from a city, into the ocean, or even set them up to attack another Vek. Certain mechs have the ability to produce damaging smoke, which can be used to cancel an enemy's attack. There are tons of possibilities. Every once in a while, time travel pods will spawn at the beginning of a level, and when collected will offer the player the reward of a reactor, which can be used to upgrade their mech between levels. Certain levels have environmental units which can provide a unique advantage, and others have natural disasters that the player can utilize in their favor. Overall, the gameplay of Into the Breach is quite satisfying, varied, and addicting. For this category, I give it a 9 out of 10. The last aspect of this game I'll be rating is replayability. As you may have gathered, Into the Breach has a ton of content and replay value. There are 24 unique mechs that make up the 8 default mech squads, which past the first squad are unlocked in probably my favorite way, through currency gained by completing achievements. In addition to the 8 default squads, the player can also choose to mix and match their squad from any previously unlocked mechs. This means there's a total of 2,024 different possible squads, each of which can be upgraded with a variety of weapons and pilots, leading to an even greater number of possibilities. When the Vek do defeat you by depleting your power grid, the game's roguelike mechanic kicks in, allowing you to send one of your pilots back in time to try again in a new timeline, retaining whatever experience they had gained up to that point. The game consists of 4 islands, each with a unique climate and gameplay elements, with a 5th island becoming available once the first 2 are completed. This gives the player the choice of when to attempt to defeat the Vek Hive on the 5th island, with the benefit of defeating more islands being that the player will accumulate more upgrades and experience over time. Each island, with the exception of the 5th island, has a variety of sectors, each with their own randomized objectives and rewards. These rewards include more grid power, reactor cores, or reputation points, which are used upon completion of an island to purchase upgrades. Personally, I found this game to be quite replayable and a laid-back game which I can usually always relax and play without feeling the need to either sink tons of time into or give my full undivided attention, though I always tend to have a great time when I play it. In terms of content and replayability, I'm giving Into the Breach a 10 out of 10, baby! All in all, I found Into the Breach to be a really enjoyable experience that I can always come back to. I would absolutely recommend this game to anyone looking for an engaging yet undemanding tactical experience. And hey, even if tactics aren't your thing, at least give the soundtrack a listen to with some nice headphones. Come on, do yourself a favor, buddy. I hope you found this review interesting, and if you have anything to add, or even if you disagree with me, go ahead and leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments. I'd love to continue the discussion down there. If you want to see one of my playthroughs of Into the Breach, the first episode of that series comes out alongside this video on the Kingdom of Gamelot channel. The link to that video will be in the description. Remember to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel for more content from me. I'll see you guys next time.